What's up, guys? I just want you to know I talked about scheduling some people for some interviews, and I think my first one will be with my friend Abby, who's an INFJ, and we're going to talk about different stereotypes in MBTI and how they're misleading and damaging to the whole field itself, and how irritating it is when you're involved in a community trying to help people and they're all confused because they're reading like different descriptions online about, oh, this is what this type does and this stereotype and all this nonsense. And this is why it's so wonderful that Dr. Behrens released her book focusing on interaction styles and temperaments, because it cuts through all the bullshit. And so when people look at stuff and they're like, oh, I'm going to start typing by cognitive functions, and like I've mentioned many times, this is really irritating to people because cognitive functions develop at different times, and they can really be messed with due to the fact of your upbringing, the job you work at. You know, a lot of different factors can figure in there. So if you're trying to figure out if you're such and such because you think you're TE, that's just idiotic, because your TE is going to be strengthened the more academia you do, for instance. And so you could be a high TI user and just be a really developed TE, you know, and so you can completely misled about who you are to begin with. And so that's why, you know, if we focus on interaction styles and temperaments, Abby and I are also going to talk about the confusion, and it's weird to me as an ENTP, because when I see an INFP and then I see an INFJ, these two types are nothing alike. Nothing alike. They're night and day. You know, the similar is their temperament, you know? And I get it all the time, and I'm not dogging any of the INFJ, INFP confused people talking to me, and I love you guys, and I'm here to help you. That's what I'm doing here for. But when we're talking interaction styles, and you're talking an INFJ who's direct in movement, and then look at their two sides of their mind, okay? Two other sides of their mind, okay? Then you have the ENFP side of their mind, which is also movement, you know? And so that's a double movement type, okay? And not only that, this is also a type that some would argue is the most outgoing, most extroverted of the introverts. I argue against that and say the ISTP is, because ISTPs always seem to be very outgoing and seem to be really into like extreme sports and wanting to go out with people, and they have that strong SE. But, you know, you think of INFJs, Jesus Christ had 12 apostles. You know, INFJs have crews. You know, everybody at that quadrant kind of has crews, in all honesty. We're talking INFJ, ENFJ, ESTP, ISTP. These guys all have crews. They have a group of friends that they like to, you know, have around. And so INFJs love to host parties. INFJs make really good bartenders. They can make drinks. They, you know, they're great. I mean, when I was dating an INFJ, you know, the hospitality he's shown to me was just bar none. It was just like, that FE parent was responsible. SE inferior was just like totally paranoid about what I needed to make me comfortable. They were worried about what I wanted. You know, it was just like questioning. You know, I need to make sure that this is perfect. And that's the way SE inferior is. And the fact that INFJs, they don't go outside without having their face done. I mean, I'm yet to meet an INFJ that isn't a beautiful person. Okay, INFJs, they get the hair did, you know, because they are terrified of giving a bad experience to people. They are just very beautiful people, and some people always like, oh, Kurt Cobain looks like shit, and he's an INFJ. Yeah, is he like shit? No, Kurt Cobain, everything he did was planned. You know, so even if you're talking the SNL skit where he pasted Kool-Aid on his hair to have that pink nastiness, that was all intentional. You know, he did himself up, you know. And when you think of INFPs, and just this simple thing about this, INFPs have SE trickster. So SE is very low. INFPs wear comfortable clothes. And if they do try to dress up, it's usually fucking goofy. My sister's an INFP, and when she dresses up, I'm like, I shouldn't say her name, but come on, what the hell are you wearing? You know, and like, not that I have a right to speak, because ENTPs can't dress either. You know, unless someone dresses us or teaches us how to dress. But INFPs wearing the comfortable clothing, and I know I don't want to base this off stereotypes. This is more or less also, you got direct, you got moving for an INFJ. Let's go over INFP. There are only two types who are triple control: ENTJ and INFP. INFP are triple control. What does control mean? It means outcome. That means they take forever to make a decision. And you're trying to compare an INFP to an INFJ who's double movement. So INFJs don't take forever to make decisions. They don't. Okay? INFPs, triple control. I'm living with a triple control. I'm living with an ENTJ right now. I mean, we're talking forever just to choose a damn movie. Because everything has to be about that outcome and what they want to get. And so INFPs are sloths in a lot of ways. You know, this is like super chill, super, they're not systematic, but methodical in a way of processing abstract thoughts and ideas. And when they open their mouth, you know, everything's about an outcome they want to present. They want to come to this conclusion when they talk to you. And so when you're talking about a type like an INFP that's triple control, and they're stoic. I mean, watch clips of interviews of Keanu Reeves. Look how he sits there. You know, barely any body movement. Calm, collective, responsive. He's informative, but he's explaining things with a certain outcome in mind. And he doesn't blurt out quick things like an INFJ will. INFJs are movement types, and INFJs can function in chaos no problem. You know, and so that's what I just think it's interesting. So you need to learn the interaction styles, because there really, really should be no discrepancy between these two types, because they're, in my opinion, nothing alike. You know, when we're talking FE versus FI, you know, and so you're talking INFPs, you know, are processing their own true or false. Not true and false, their own right and wrong. They're establishing their own moral code, essentially. INFJs are ethical people. They're not moral people. You know, you argue, hey, well, every NF has both functions pretty well developed. Yeah, sure. But this doesn't mean it's not in their ego. And so you're talking FE versus FI, you know. And so what the community thinks is a lot more important to an INFJ than what, you know, the INFP does, you know, when it comes to right and wrong decision making. You know, INFPs, you know, they know how they feel, and their whole guiding system is all about judging things based on that thing. And if we're going to continue on, why the confusion is because of the letter dichotomy. And so FI is their judging function, which is their top function. Okay? And so if your top function, your whole driving force in life is judgment versus on FI, you're thinking, oh, well, how can I be an INFP if I'm always coming to conclusions based on right and wrong on my own all the time? Okay, so this is why the letter dichotomy is stupid. INFJ, what's their leading top function? NI hero. NI is a perceiving function, but they're an INFJ. Okay, now granted, you're like, well, Matt, why are you using the letter dichotomy? Well, because this is what everyone understands. And so the letter dichotomy, I don't type people, you know, oh, he's perceiving, okay, good, he's judging, okay, he's a feeler. I don't do that shit. That's stupid. You know, I'm trying to find out the interaction style. And so when you're talking responding, direct, movement, that's a huge ass difference between background, responding, informative, control, and triple control at that matter. Okay? And so, you know, INFPs are stoic. They respond in a collected manner. They don't do well in chaos. They like to have, you know, a very outcome-focused life, you know, and so they have their goals in mind in a certain way throughout their day. And it's just, I mean, they're triple control. And so You could tell them out there because, INFJs, I mean, I know this is a stereotype and I shouldn't do this, but INFJs really, really fear looking like shit in public. They have serious issues with public speaking for the most part. I'm very proud of the INFJs in the CS Joseph Facebook group that are making videos. They're trying to overcome their SE inferior, and I commend them for that. That's awesome. INFPs, there's an INFP at the philosophy meeting who thinks she's an INFJ, and I broke it down to why she's not. Her high FI is so attached to that title and that TE, and she's just so attached to it, and that she doesn't want to let go. And she's sitting there piddling on her phone during the philosophy meeting. Listen, no INFJ would ever do that. INFJs do not with FE parent. They're being responsible of what's ethical in a community meeting where other people are talking and they're piddling on their phone. No, that's an FI thing, okay? And the fact that SE inferior would ever give someone a bad experience by piddling on their phone? No. INFPs will with SE trickster. And they're nervous, and they're like, oh, we're unsure about this kind of stuff. Well, I have an outcome of wanting to get through this meeting, and I got anxiety problems, and so I got to piddle on my phone, or I got to do this little fidget spinner. These kind of things. NI Hero will power through that crap, and they will not, put up with that kind of stuff. They will not come across as rude, and they will not come across as, not being extroverted sensing. They want to be given a good experience. They want to, they're going to have their hair done. They're going to have their dress clothes on. They're going to be, they're going to look good. They're going to really, really care about taking care of other people in a sense of, providing the best experience possible. INFJs are excellent hosts. Expect them to making drinks. But it's like, well, INFJs always like to seem to disappear. And yeah, they do that shit. They do that door slam stuff, and you can't find them for 5 fucking days. Okay, I understand that. I dated one. And, and you're like texting somebody, and he's not responding to his own boyfriend's text. That's irritating to an ENTP, because I want to feel wanted. And so like, am I being wanted? What's going on? So, you have to think about this kind of stuff. And so, yeah. So I'm gonna have some conversation with Abby. I hope we can clear this stuff up because she actually had some confusion about before we confirmed her as an INFJ. And in all honesty, if you want to sit there and mix up INFJs, typically speaking, when I'm typing people on interviews and stuff on TV, I'm confused between INFJ and ISTP because they're at least the same quadra and the same interaction style. And so then I'm like, well, how abstract are they? Because a lot of people hide their abstract side because they're afraid to come across as crazy. Especially when you're an FE user. Because does anybody value abstract thought? INFJs think that way. Oh, they're definitely responsible for what other people value. And so if they have to come across as being very concrete, they're going to. I typed Mayor Pete, as an INFJ. It was really hard for me to find a video of him talking in abstract terms. But I found it. It's there. But he's a politician. He's not going to go very far. He's talking abstract when he's trying to get SJs to vote for him. And so the job and stuff like that is going to hide certain things. So you really have to figure out the interaction styles. And so if you guys need me to redo some movement type stuff or some control type stuff, I have those videos already made, and I've gotten very nice compliments from people about them, and I don't mind doing it. I'm just trying to help people, and that's just what I'm doing. And so it's interesting to me about that, and it comes up over and over again. So anybody in my following that might feel embarrassed about this, and don't feel embarrassed. I mean, I talked to Abby about this today. I mean, finding an INFJ confused about being an INFP or the vice versa is very common, and INFPs really, really get mixed up with ISFPs a lot too. Or INFJs also get mixed up with ISFJs because very similar stacks of TI and FE. But anyways, I ranted way longer than I thought I was going to. This is almost 15 minutes.